voice of growth, mastering the mind and market. Welcome back to the Voice of Growth podcast, Mastering the Mind and Market. My name is Manny Teran, and I'm your host. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you like the content. At the Voice of Growth podcast, we talk a lot about very deep subjects. We talk about death. We talk about grit. We talk about failure. We talk about success and peace and joy, world events, war, you name it. We want to challenge your thinking and help to ground you in your actions, in your mental state, because as you know, this world is crazy and there's things blowing around. And if you let yourself, you can succumb to that same lifestyle, and it's without peace. It creates lots of tension. It creates stress. It's not good on your body. But if you adhere to Stoic principles, they will help ground you and provide a stable platform for which you can then express joy, peace, success, grit, and so forth. This is a podcast about business, but we live in a very blended world where personal, business, everything kind of blends together. Especially if you're an entrepreneur or business leader, you're not immune to what happens around the world. Good example, we're talking today about the killing of Alex Pretti on January 24th by federal law enforcement agents. He was a U.S. citizen. He was a protester. He was also a VA nurse. And from all accounts, he was a good man. I will not go deep into too much on the sides of what happened. I won't break it down line by line or screenshot by screenshot. I instead will talk about what we can do as human beings, as business people, as Stoics for things that happen like this. Because what's happening today is the sides are getting further and further away from one another and even more entrenched. The left is digging their heels in, the right is digging their heels in, and the dialogue that we once enjoyed as a nation, as a community, as a world has begun its descent further and further away from our everyday vernacular. There's also another subject that I'll talk about is the way that the outside world sometimes looks at Stoicism. They believe that Stoics do not have feeling, that there's a numbness, that there's a distance between Stoics and the rest of the world, and the activities or community we're labeled as cold. And I want to talk about why that's completely wrong, and in particular give some examples as to what the Stoic principles teach us about being involved with our fellow man. First, let's talk about what happened. You see it on social media, on the news, on TV, everywhere, of what happened to this 37-year-old nurse who worked at the VA, who was, by all accounts, defending a woman from getting pepper sprayed. People on the right would say, on the very right would say, what the hell was he doing there? He should have been home. He should have let ICE do their work. Why was he there? Why was he protesting? Why wasn't he complying with officers' demands, XYZ? And you have people on the extreme left saying he was murdered, he was executed. And what's interesting is also he was a lawful concealed permit carrying man. And the left is actually bringing that up. Why? Because the right would say, well, why did he bring a gun to a protest? And the left's saying, well, he was a lawful carrier, which is kind of a weird thing because usually it's the other way around. There's new evidence now that's being put forth about maybe the gun he had was fired accidentally by the other officer that took it away from his belt. Who knows? There's already AI deepfakes rolling around that proclaim that that's the case. They show some shot being fired, but in all actuality, it's AI. I mean, you could see the slide did not move back. I'm a gun guy, so I know that it was not a truthful situation. We're not going to get into whether it was wrong or right. A man has been killed. His family, unfortunately, has to see this over and over play out on the news and on social media. His friends are having to deal with this. It's just madness. And of course, the officers on the other side, as much as it's hard to show them compassion, there is a lot of loss there as well. Obviously, they're still alive. So, I'm likely going to get some flack for saying these things. It doesn't matter. We need to have compassion for what happened. I look at the footage and I look at family members of mine that are in law enforcement, and I look at family members of mine that came to this country illegally, and I look at the whole landscape. And part of being a Stoic is being able to bring all that stuff into your mind, sit with it without letting the emotion carry you away, which is, I think, a big problem today. Is we see that situation, we immediately react to it, the guttural, visceral reaction. And then what happens is that then we react outwards on something. We get on our phones, we put something down on social media, and all it's doing is inciting more violence, more fire, rather than what I believe is the better case is to let it get you. Because when I saw that video, it got me. Then I pause. And I let it sink in. And before I make any judgments, I want to get as much information as I can. We're biased, man. We're human beings. We're going to be sort of led one direction or another based on what we see. But I intentfully go back to center, try to figure out what is the truth. The truth is one of the core Stoic pillars, in that it really feeds from wisdom, it feeds from justice, it feeds from temperance, and it feeds from courage. Those are the 4 Stoic principles. So truth sort of underpins those. Unfortunately, the truth isn't always going to be available to us. We see things, we see our version of the truth, and then we start to build our armies to defend that said truth. You see it plain as day on social media, play out like a risk game. What I'm asking here for you to do is to pause, reflect, and think about the reaction. There's a Stoic principle or a phrase. It's been attributed to Socrates, but it's not necessarily proven to be him that said this. There's the triple filter. For anything that you bring into your head, process, and then spew out the other side here, your mouth or your actions with your texts or emails or whatever, put it on a social media post. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? The triple filter. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? So ask yourself before you say something, before you spew out anything, is it true? If it's not true, then figure out as close to the truth as you can before you say anything. If you can't find the truth, then you say, this is my opinion, this is what I see, ... Is it kind? Are you doing this to try to bridge a divide, or are you doing this to try to get people on fire? And the last thing is it useful? Are there things that will come from your spewing forth, whatever you're going to say, that will be useful, or is all it's going to do is create a further divide between the sides? I've been very transparent with my politics for a long time. Libertarian. I believe that the government has or should have a smaller role in certain aspects. I believe in personal liberty. I believe in a military that limits interventions internationally. I want to bring these things in. So I can go on and on about my libertarian roots. There are also very similar things in the Stoic principles. And we're actually working on a complete podcast, maybe the next monologue, that'll bring and give you an idea of the differences between and the similarities between Stoicism and libertarianism. But back to this. With respect to the, if you want to call it a criticism from a lot of people that don't understand Stoicism, they believe that we're cold, that we're numb, that we're removed, that we don't act, that we don't care, when in fact, it's the exact opposite. What we actually do as Stoics is that we don't react, we respond. I try really hard to not react when something happens. It's a daily battle, sometimes hour by hour, minute by minute, trench warfare, hand to hand. But that's what I fight for every day, is to not react, but instead respond. I've been very truthful and vulnerable with my audience here. As a younger man, I was very quick to react. And there's still times when I do react, but I go back and I recenter myself. Like a buoy in the ocean that gets pulled down or knocked over, I come back up. And that's the Stoic practice, daily practice. I start with gratitude in the morning, a minute or two while I'm still in bed. And then throughout the day, I try to schedule pauses. So I just sit in stillness. And we can go on and on about how to really strengthen that Stoic principle. But when these things happen, when you see something on the news that blows you away, that's when it matters the most to pause in stillness. Let it sink in. Don't push it out. Let it sink in unfiltered, and then process it. And then really look at that triple filter, whether or not you say anything. And people think, well, Stoics shouldn't be in politics. They don't care about politics. They don't care about government, all this. Not at all. Or that they're, we're impersonable. We don't like people. We don't believe in charity. We didn't believe in helping people. No, bogus. Matter of fact, Marcus Aurelius, one of the most well-known Stoics out there, was an emperor of the Roman Empire. So he was not only a soldier, general, he was a politician, he was a government official, he was a part of a dynasty. I mean, you name it, he was in the mix, and he practiced Stoicism. Epictetus was a slave, came from nothing, had nothing, left with nothing. He was a nobody, except he was a Stoic that wrote. And those two are opposite ends of the spectrum, but they both practiced Stoicism. So you can be at any level, at any place in your career, in government, and whatever, the military, and you can practice Stoicism. It just means you respond, you don't react. Other things that are of note, that when something happens, like what happened the other day, it hurts our society on many levels. Obviously, he passed away, he died, he was killed. Then you go to his family and his friends, and the circle grows and grows. But as a nation, as a society, events like that divide further and further and further the different sides, they cause division, they cause future flames to roar up when things like this happen. There's something that Marcus Aurelius wrote that says, what injures the hive injures the bee. So something in society that hurts will flow down to the individuals, and it's up to us to find a way to heal ourselves. It is something that doesn't come easy, and it comes with practice. So a few more things to talk about here regarding the Stoic response. When something like that happens, and in that moment, I mentioned before, the visceral reaction, and you will react, it'll hit you, boom. Then the pause, In that pause, I'm going to give you some things to think about. You want to try to seek the truth to the best of your ability. You want to support some peaceful, rational conversations to explore that said truth. And then you want to advocate for a healing process, or how can you mend that situation? This should all play out, by the way, in social media. If you're on social media, this is something that I've actually seen a few people play it out just like this. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a bridge for understanding. I have family members that are in law enforcement that are making those split second decisions for their health, for their safety, for those around them, public safety, so forth. And I have friends or family on the other side that are very politically active on the protest side and so forth. And this is not a simple situation. What happened in a split second? Did they act too aggressively? Probably so. Did they act in a defensive manner? Maybe so. And the truth will come out. Now, the thing is justice. There's a whole group of people that want blood. They want to see blood. And blood for blood, it's a slippery slope. I get it. I'm a human being. If somebody did that to somebody I loved, I would be out for blood too. But I would really fight like hell to bring myself back to center of what I can control and what I cannot control. So a couple words to close this out is that public servants, like those officers, are not above the law. The rule of law has been bruised and beat up of recent times. I've seen things, I'm sure you have as well, that make me wonder what the hell's going on right now with our government. I just don't get it. The rule of law is becoming more and more blurry, and there are so many people speaking out about this. And I'm hoping, and I'm really giving my energy towards ways to maintain that with my voice without letting it derail me. I have a few friends on social media. I have one on the super left, one on the super right that I can think of right now. Obviously, I won't say their names. And I actually had to pause their activity on both sides because it got to be full of vitriol, spitting hate, spitting acid. And the one on the left said, quote, "All Republicans are racist and should be K_D." I thought to myself, what the hell is he saying that? You're saying that an entire population are all racist and should be offed. I think they took down the post because I went back later, or maybe he took it down because it was gone. That's inciting violence. That's so untrue. You're talking about a little old lady, maybe a black little old lady that is conservative, that has voted Republican her whole life. She should be offed. She's a racist. Those sort of blanket comments, all they do is incite more and more hate. And as much as they're trying to be righteous and defend their position, they are actually creating more of what they don't want. Same thing goes on the right side. My buddy on the right, who calls everybody on the left libtards and goes through the process of why they're mentally ill. And in a matter of speaking, not the same way as the other guy, but in the matter of speaking, he said that all people on the left, all Democrats, are mentally ill. Again, whole population, broad brushstroke, completely false. All he's doing is adding more fuel to an ever-growing fire. In my last minute or two here, I just want to invite you to center yourself, spend time learning about what's happening in the world, And I actually did a whole podcast about how we should react to news that comes out. This I felt was very important to really use a scalpel to carve out and discuss, because it's such a tragic situation. And I invite you to also find ways to give yourself peace. Find ways to provide peace for your family. And if you have children or loved ones, or if you are a guardian to somebody, teach them about this too. And you teach primarily with your actions. Something happens, you react, they see you react, and it's a continuum. But if you pause, you process, and then you respond, they'll learn from that as well. But also spend time talking about what happened with them. This is what happened. It's super sad that he died. And look what's happening on this side. And it's unfortunate. I wish things were different. And this is how we're going to talk about things being different. If you feel like you want to go protest, you want to get a sign, knock yourself out. If you feel like you want to get people together and create violence, absolutely not. There's no place for this anymore. We are drifting further away from where we should be going. And I'm saying this at the same time, I am extremely hopeful, and I have lots of feelings that we are going to get in a better spot, but it might get worse before it gets better. So thanks for listening. If you found value in this, please subscribe. We're getting some momentum on the channel, and I need your momentum as well. I need your help. Thanks again. Cheers.